Hello and welcome back to the Eternal Dawn. I am your captain, Straw Hat Lucas, joined by my lovely crew today. I'm gonna go around and let everybody say hi real quick, starting with my first mate, my right-hand man, Cube of the Red Sea. How we doing, Cube?
What's up, guys? Well, man, I'm excited. Crazy chapter, as always. Goda is cooking.
Yeah.
He is cooking.
Yeah. I cannot agree more, and we will definitely get into that and just how crazy for theories this chapter is. Next up, newest member of the crew, but someone I'm glad is steering the ship, the helmsman of the Dawn, Mr. Knack Reacts, or as we just call him, Return of the Knack Street Boys, Knack and Black.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for that lovely welcome there. That was, I appreciate
Beautiful.
the neck buns. So let's get into the chapter now. We'll have a great discussion about chapter 1134, the Owl Library.
Yeah, I'm very hyped. And of course, we are nothing without the heart of our crew, the one who steers the ship, the lovely navigator of the Eternal Dawn, Miss 3-Day Trip. That rhymed, I didn't mean it to. How are we doing today this morning, 3-Day?
Bars.
I'm good. I'm the warrior of freedom, according to Cube, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm
And
loving
technically,
the
I steer the ship. She just tells me what to do.
Yes,
That's true.
exactly.
She's the golden warrior.
And last but certainly not least, one of my best friends in the whole world, a brother to me, the only man whose cooking I will eat. It is the head cook of the Eternal Dawn, Mr. Vexus, the Lurking Legend.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Vexus, the Lurking Legend. Y'all can just call me Vex. I am so stoked to be here with the whole crew, bright and early, covering such a fire chapter. We got a lot to go over. Oda really is pulling out all the stops. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm very excited. First things first, when you first open the chapter, you get this beautiful tribute to Kazuki Yao, the Japanese voice actor for Frankie. You guys know I love me some Frankie, and I'm very sad to see Yao go, but at the same time, his health is more important than continuing the role, and I hope that he gets the rest and gets to expend these twilight years of his life relaxed and happy and surrounded by friends and family. So thank you, Yao Sensei, for 20 plus years of being Frankie and being so super.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah,
super.
supers.
Absolutely.
Yes.
07s. Yeah, 07s for this
07s,
man.
supers
The
in
whole
chat.
crew. Yeah, the whole crew is looking absolutely fire. I'm a fan of all of this drip and like whatever these like water guns are. Like I like this goes so hard in so many different ways. But seeing like the big old Mecha Frankie is fire.
With the
And him
we
kinda
are
pushing the
eternal. We are eternal on
He's
his
talking
shoulder
shit,
too.
That's perfect. I felt like he was talking to us when I read We Are Eternal. But I will just say this, because of this cover, the allegations of Frankie becoming a future Iron Giant is not going away.
Yeah. One, the ship. Part of the ship, part of the crew.
It
We
is
need
Instead
to
of
put
Hogarth,
We Are
he's
the
gonna-
Eternal Dawn on there. Add Dawn to the end
Hell
of
yeah.
it.
there you go.
Hell yeah. Instead of Hogarth as the Iron Giant, he's gonna say like Bogard, and he's gonna
It's,
Do y'all think that it means anything that Frankie was a ship before on the poster, and now he's like carrying them through the sky? You think that's like saying we're gonna get a Uranus reveal or anything? Do you think it's more meaning to it?
I've said it recently a lot that I think that the Straw Hats will upgrade the Sunny to fly, and that's how they'll circumnavigate the globe one more time, like Roger's crew did in their journeys. So I could definitely
Yeah, I
see
mean,
it.
Oda said like this has to be like 15 plus years back in an interview or whatever. He never really wanted to introduce the power of flight,
right.
because it takes away so much of the obstacles that are in front of them to get to the finish line, the end of the story and stuff like that. But like the closer we get to the end game, the more obviously he has the chance to finally introduce like characters with the power of flight. Like Hairdos is somebody that we see potentially coming into things right now, like at the end Egghead. Big News Morgans is somebody that we've seen and like been alluded to as early as like the first couple chapters getting into elbaf and stuff like that. And so yeah, I think that and like all the Shiki, little Easter eggs and hints and stuff like that as well. These are all characters that could have the power of flight, and like that just leads me to believe that during the final war, that's like finally something we're gonna be able to see. And Oda's been holding back this whole time this power because there's too many obstacles that they could just completely make trivial if they could just fly over top of them. You know what I mean?
It'll have more meaning now too, since he's held back for so long.
And not only that,
Exactly.
but think of
And,
last chapter. One of the first things we saw last chapter was a flying ship.
Yeah, and I think that's really this is so indicative that this is truly the final saga, because the main reason why he, like, outside of just like the fact that that'll just mean that they can fly above any little obstacle I put in their way, but he said that over all other things, this is a story about them sailing across the seas. So
Exactly.
when we get them no longer sailing, it means the story's almost done, which is crazy to think about, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, even though he is flying, it looks like he's close to the sea too, though.
Yeah,
And
I
also,
think it could relate to like with the Vega Force 1, it wasn't able to fly outside of the island weather con or whatever aircon that Vegapunk had. So like if they find out some sort of flight, it might be like it can only happen like around like the magnetic fields of like the islands in the Grand Line, and like over like open sea, maybe it won't work or something. I don't know. There's a ton of different ways Oda can spin it.
There'll be
He can do whatever
limitations.
he wants.
Yeah, because that was a term he also added to with Shiki and flying in SBS freely, which, and I think I agree 100% with Vex, since we're in the last part of the story, last saga, it would make sense, because a lot of the storylines of Discovery, if they had the ability to fly, a lot of stuff just bird view would give you like, yo, something's off about that island or stuff like that, or there'll be places you would be able to perceive where they're doing weird stuff. So I do feel like now he's in a story where that flaw might not be a big flaw now, because we got through most of the mysteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. So the chapter opens up. We didn't get a cover page this week, guys, which I'm kind of sad about. I love what we got because, like I said, Yao Sensei deserves all of the tribute that he can get, especially with how hard he worked on the series. Sad we didn't get a cover page because it just started picking up a lot last week. But what did you guys think of Luffy's Yakuza talk at the beginning of the chapter, thanking Saul and doing a common anarchic greeting?
You got there.
It's kind of funny.
Takes me back to Wano. I wonder if he learned it from the man from the prison. I always butcher his name. Hyogoro.
Yogoro.
Yeah. Because he was like the Yakuza boss there. But first thing I thought when I seen him, he looks just like Kaido in a sense, with the feathered cape and the horns behind his head. The stance he's in.
Yeah, take that back.
Does it mean that
He
it
just
was
stole Kaido's position
long
as an
ago,
emperor.
Does it mean it's a greeting from long ago, or is that what it was talking about?
I think that's a reference to what it is in real life.
Well,
Wait,
it's
that's-
in the Edo era, which is a very long time ago.
You know what I was thinking though, Lucas, was that when I saw this, I was thinking, what if the sun god memories were awakening, and that's how he learned it. He said he didn't learn it from anybody.
Yeah.
I was just thinking he learned it because the sun god memories
Interesting.
were awakening, and that's how he used to greet
The
people.
bingo piece.
That's the bingo piece is real. I agree.
Yes.
I didn't say so in my chapter reaction, but I was thinking the same thing. Especially, and we'll talk about this later with Ridley and her mentioning the sun god and stuff to him. I think that because he's maybe the theory of Nika originally being a giant is true, and him being an elbaf, like you say, is awakening those memories. Because he also did that last chapter as well, where he had spoken about I have to meet somebody who took care of my crew, and everybody was like, "Where'd you get that idea?" You know what I mean? It's
Right.
We're seeing some different behavior from it.
Yeah, I think it could tie in with, and I saw this. I'm going to shout out to Growth D Stonks, active community member, somebody who helped us with the layout for the bingo card that a lot of people used in our bingo stream last week. Go check it out if you haven't already. But I saw him post over in Dak Sake's Discord server. Major shout out to Dak as well. These like images, and it's Luffy doing this pose, and then also right next to it is Jinbei doing the exact same pose. Boss Jinbei, you know, back before he joined the crew. And I think that it's literally the exact same, hand on the hip, and then the flat palm extended upwards, like it's the same thing.
He did it when he arrived in
And
Wano.
I think that's it's really, really cool if so now that we didn't get a lot of time with Jinbei on the actual crew, like from Whole Cake they made a hot exit, and then he dipped for like the whole first 2 acts of Wano, and then as soon as he came in, the raid on Onigashima, and then they got very little time before they got attacked by a mecha shark, you know, leaving Wano, going into Egghead and stuff. It's just been like nothing but actually like just crazy spice. You know, as the whole time Jinbei's been on, we haven't seen like a lot of like just downtime with them. Even like, you know, whenever they were having the feast in post Wano, Jinbei was the only one at the dinner table just eating all the food, fat and happy, and we love that about him. And everyone else was off doing other shit, right? Like, so like, I think this is just the signs that Luffy is actually finally getting to learn from Jinbei now that he is a full addition to the crew, because we really haven't seen any of that yet.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about the fact that Jinbei's honeymoon arc was Egghead. Like, he joined the crew, he helped him fight in Onigashima, had his banquet, and then immediately gets caught up in a war with the Gorosei. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
He's getting
crazy.
He's getting the Chopper treatment. Chopper joined the crew. Next arc,
Alabasta. Yep.
Well, you gotta think about it. Brook joined the crew. Next arc, Saba Odi.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Some of them are really
rough.
unlucky. Yeah, some of them are really unlucky. And I'm gonna bring up, because what Vex is saying is something that Nag brought up like the week before of a possible parallel, which, you know, I thought he would bring it up, but not his stance, but what he is saying is literally what Ace went to see Makino for, and Luffy was there when she was teaching him to thank Ace to thank Shanks.
Yeah.
And what he did for Luffy.
But he didn't.
Did you say Shanks or Binks?
No, Shanks.
Oh my god.
Not thanks. Not thanks.
Give?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing with
Makino's top 5 waifu.
Yeah, so first connection with that scene I made was actually just anime only. It was Ace telling Luffy about how you thank someone who takes care of family, and in the manga it's actually Makino teaching that to Ace, and you don't see Ace actually give it to Luffy on panel. So maybe it was, you know, missed, but I doubt that. Right now it just looks like it's anime only, that connection with Ace and Luffy telling them, but it's a great callback to that lesson that Ace did learn.
Why did he deny it? Who taught you that? And he's like, nobody. It's not like him to just lie, though.
No, exactly.
I think Knack is talking about last chapter with the Ace thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but with this one,
specifically to address the lie, I think that's because he is trying very desperately to keep a secret right now. He did just have some sort of convening with Loki, and Luffy, or aka Rhodey, is trying to play his cards close to his chest right now. So he's trying to act natural, but he's also like being like, I think it's like an overcompensation. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think he's like trying to play it cool, and it's coming across as slightly defensive. Us as the audience, we know because of that like situational irony or dramatic irony that like we have information that the rest of these characters don't, but they just play it off like it's nothing. We know though that there's something up, right?
Yeah, something's up.
100%. And that this was this was the reference Kube was bringing up. This chapter, I don't think it's the same callback, but he's definitely showing us that he's maturing. He's becoming more of a man. More of a captain.
Yeah, I said that in my chapter reaction, that it seems like since he's gotten the Emperor title, he sees exactly like what that means. Because think about it, he's on the same level as Shanks. That is like, even if we don't know combat wise if he is there or not, standing wise, he's level with Shanks. So I think Luffy sees that achievement because it was his original, like that was what he was aiming for. You know what I mean? And I think he's taking it very, very serious.
Trying to be more
and other people are taking it seriously as well, because we see Saul specifically say while greeting Luffy, like, I was a Marine like 22. He doesn't say exactly when, but we know it was like 22 plus years ago. He's like, I know what it means to hold the title of Yonko.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking
and, like,
of
that's
Saul,
this fella's
like,
world
it
famous.
goes right into the point you said.
Yeah.
This fella's world famous.
Exactly. That fella's world famous. But to get back to Saul and the chapter, I love that we got to see the continuation of the reunion. We didn't cut away from it, or they didn't like jump forward a little bit. Just Robin, saying this all, just like you said, I actually found them, people willing to accept and protect someone like me, true friends. And they all just, die for you, calling back to Zoe when they were all like, I'm Robin Chan, and stuff like that. It made me so happy. Like, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, it was a great moment. I will say, like, it goes back to Luffy like trying to rush away, and Nami saying, let Robin have her moment first. So last chapter, we let Robin have her moment. Now Luffy gets to talk to Saul, so it's good.
And he does it so formally. So we get, like you guys had already said, we get Saul recognizing Luffy as an emperor and what an achievement it is, but we also get Saul thanking him for protecting Robin, and he responds in such a Luffy way, just the no problem. Like it's so well done. I love these crew moments so much. We also meet Ange right here, which is Saul's assistant.
Yeah.
Need to know more about her. I really, really do.
Ange. Good old Ange, boy.
Yeah, good old
This
Ange.
isn't actually the first time we've seen her, but we get like a proper introduction. But she was the one who was running up at the end of that one chapter and was like, "Oh, it's Saul. Saul fell, and he's not getting up or whatever."
Yeah.
So we've seen like a snippet of her before.
Is she from the same place Saul's from too? Because I don't think he's from elbaf, right?
No, he's from the South Blue. I would assume she's Elbathian though. Just like, I don't know how many of Giants are like also from where Saul's from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't really have that information.
Yeah, I would love to know actually.
I won't lie. Her name, they also gave me a call back, and when they finally connect in Skypiea, they meet Canis, who they believe is an angel. And it's interesting because Ange is how you write angel in French. The same writing, exact same writing.
Interesting.
Oh, I read it as Angie, like that Rolling Stones song. Angie. Angie.
We get the next. We get this little reintroduction between Saul and Dr. Vegapunk in the form of Lilith, of course. But I love Saul. Who are you and why are you flying? Like,
for real, wild. And we know she's able to use those boots because she mentioned last chapter how the atmosphere was perfect.
Exactly.
And
clouds and everything.
Goes on to say this place is the perfect place to make a new lab as well. Like, this is the environment Vegapunk was trying to recreate on Egghead with his systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome.
I think it's crazy. Yeah, it's actually crazy, the level of details, because I thought those boots were gonna be useless, but it's cool seeing them put to work here. And also, like, not to jump too far ahead, but like, we finally get a little bit of insight into just why Lilith is still able to smile so big and bright throughout this whole thing after all of the events of Egghead and everything like that. This is such a wild little snippet in the chapter.
Big brain
and
moves.
I'm glad that we got to this. But I would have spent more time on the reunion if I could have chose to. But like, this is crazy,
Wild stuff.
Are you talking about the big first big reveal of the chapter, and that is that there's a clone of the Stella body? Perfect.
Yeah, this clone's different than our satellites. It's a perfect copy.
Perfect copy.
Yeah, it makes sense. And like, clone piece is real. I've been saying it since the very beginning of Egghead, and even before then. Honestly, since I was in Whole Cake before I was ever caught up all the way, I was like, oh shit, yeah, everyone's gonna be clones of everybody now. Like, but as soon as like Judge showed us that tech exists, but yeah, this is so cool, and it makes more sense like in the O'Hara flashback with Dragon and Vegapunk, that it wasn't legit Vegapunk Prime who was there. He was still on, like tinkering away at Punk Hazard or whatever. That was like his like body double.
So do you think this copy is like from the exact original Vegapunk before he cut his brain out or whatever, or have all his emotions before he made the satellites?
I think he's updated.
He might be a younger man. Yeah, he might be a younger man, like physically in this form, but maybe he has updated it. But I think that whatever knowledge it has would be directly tied to whenever the last time it hit up Punk Records was. Because like why would he have a body double that couldn't do the same thing that he and all of his satellites could do, which is just share information, right?
And if you expected to die, like let's think about this. During all of Egghead, Vegapunk played 4D chess. If he expected to die, he probably updated it as soon as he realized the world government was going to take him out.
Well, that's kind of where my head's at, is that the intention was for Lilith to get to elbaf and rebuild a lab and bring him back, like, kind of like thinking 3-4 steps ahead, you know?
But they wanted to keep it secret, right? And they said it's from 20 years ago, so that was making me think that that part had been locked away for the past 20 years so that he wouldn't be discovered.
But with Vegapunk's technology, I wouldn't be surprised if he had the capability to update it without taking it out of the case. You know what I mean? Like, think of plugging in a flash drive to your computer kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
The implications are wild here, though. Like, there's so much happening. And this is what Jinbei was doing. So I guess Jinbei gets a pass now for Egghead.
Exactly.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
This could be like something will be a payoff later on, that will, a bit like because with Skypiea or some other arcs where at the time we didn't realize, or for a lot of people, arcs like Ennis Lobby and Solar Bar, how there's the other arcs that builds up from what happened in those arcs.
Yes.
That,
for real.
We've said that the Vegapunk in that flashback who first meets Bonnie and Kuma is not at all like Stella or any I've seen. Like, he was completely different, and like it could be like him the moment he decided on what happened with what he's going to do to Kuma and Bonnie, deciding on the satellites and everything, discovering Kuma's devil fruit. He maybe made a 5-arc plan for us, where basically this one will be the complete one.
Hell yeah.
Who might even recognize Frankie, because we've been saying it. The Vegapunks act like Frankie isn't that important when we know that he knows he was sent to his lab. It does not connect to him at all.
I agree with that.
What I'm also pretty interested in is like we saw as recently as like the rainbow bridges like that they paint and whatnot. That's like basically physical light that is interactable in like more or less a liquidish kind of state. But like we've also seen solid light on Egghead, which is like they were able to just walk through the little door. And then after Vegapunk just manipulated it in some way, they made it like as hard as steel, but it was just a light screen, and like we've seen that a few times now in the story. What if this is, and I said this over a year ago on stream before the rebrand, and I was talking about like, well, Stella could literally just make like a light clone of himself.
Yep.
And like, is that what we're finally seeing? That would be so crazy if we actually got that. And it also really ties up something I've seen as a bit of a complaint recently. I don't share the sentiment, but I've seen a lot of people complaining, what is Lilith doing here? What is Kuma doing here? What is Bonnie doing here? And stuff like that. And like this panel with Bonnie like yelling out to Lilith, like is it gonna make it possible for you to help my dad? And like, this is huge. Like, this is all starting to come together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
Upset about it though. They're upset Vegapunk's coming back, and they're upset that Kuma. I think it negates everything that they've been through for them to come back.
But that's what they deserve. Like, that's what I don't get about like some of the One Piece fandom is the whole point of One Piece is hope and dreams coming true. If
Right.
Bonnie's dream is to have her father come back, let that happen. Yes, Kuma has been through enough in his life. He deserves the happiest of endings. And I have Kuma's death on my bingo card. So this is going against my own agenda. But
And I won't lie.
I want it to happen. I want him to have that happy ending.
Yeah.
What's up, Q?
What I was gonna say is like people always forget like the whole. There was one point about the whole Saul thing with Robin. It destroyed all of Robin's backstory. No, because Robin's backstory is to see that how for 20 years that type of torture. Like, what's worse for someone to be unalived, or to suffer the consequences to be the only one, and for 20 years you might be free, but you still have trauma from that 20 years experience of being in hell.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's not, it's how the delivery is done. There's been very few times, like for me, the only one that kind of bothers me with those fake outs is Pound.
Yeah, Pound's the
Pound
only
was-
one that.
Yeah, Pound. But
I
I think
think
it's
that
also
it's-
that. It's how the writing is done. And I think Oda most of the time does it well. But I do understand the criticism because sometimes
See,
it's
I
overused.
don't. I do get the criticism of fake out
I
deaths.
completely understand it.
I don't get
I
the
understand
criticism
it.
at all,
But it's-
because a lot of the people who are arguing the sentiment that the Saul comeback is like cheap or whatever are the same people who wanted Saul to be the man marked by. So we all knew he was gonna come back. So I don't get the specific purpose of pointing that one out as cheap when we all knew Saul was alive. Ice Time Capsule was the movie on him. We all knew he was alive still.
No, but it's more than that. It's like Oda has set up in his story as far back as Drum Island that like, when does a man truly die?
Exactly.
And the fact that will can be carried on, will is something that like in this narrative, there's the power system of devil fruits, and then we get introduced to Haki, approaching the time skip and post time skip. It starts to make more sense and stuff like that. But there's been one true power system since before we even get to see a devil fruit, which is in like the first chapter, and it's will. Like will is king. Will is the narrative like embodiment basically, and like it's like above all, like this isn't a battle shonen, although a lot of people want to say it is. It's just an absurdist story about exploring and searching for a big old treasure. And it's like, and the first chapter is literally called Romance Dawn. Like this isn't your traditional, like you can't power scale things the same way you can with like other like properties, like intellectual properties. This is something where the narrative is and always will be and always has been king. And if narratively this character has something to continue to live for, they can overcome seemingly insurmountable things to retain their livelihood. And that makes sense within the story that Oda has put together. And frankly, like respectfully, I think that Oda, the author and mangaka of like one of the single most successful intellectual literary franchises of all time, I think that this guy knows what he's doing, like probably better than some of the fans. So I'm just gonna listen to what Oda tells me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's like, I'm gonna speak on this more later because it involves stuff in this chapter. But there's things that Oda does that I'm not fully on board with. But at the same time, I trust him enough that once I see the payoff of it and see what his grand plan is, I know I'm going to like it or accept it at least. But getting back to the chapter, like we said, we did get the full Oda box fight. MJ. The librarian and Saul's assistant, and we found out that this is a school. This is in Cube. W for you. You've been going on and on about schools in One Piece and how they don't seem to be very prevalent. I have my takes on that as well, but this was a dub for you.
Brook needs to speak. Brook needs to speak about his life. Do we need a second backstory of Brook's life? Because
We said it in that Usopp episode of Rambling Addiction. We need Brook's backstory, bro.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of the 4 Straw Hats that we don't know enough about.
Because everyone knows I have a headcanon that could be the first crime that Clover did. When they started to censor education in schools, he was, 20 great scholars. The one scholar that refused and kept, teaching people true information, Clover. But that comment of Brook, like he's been to school. So that's like, ooh, spicy.
Is it possible he's been to elbaf before?
I don't think so.
Long
Maybe,
ago.
but
We never know.
Yeah, we need to know more about Brooke. Brooke has all these little tidbits that we never get more into, but he seemed to be a part of a royal guard, and he has a weird style of swordplay, and now he's talking about how schools make him nostalgic.
He instantly recognized Philip Bark from being from the West Blue.
He's from somewhere weird, somewhere we don't understand yet.
Yeah, he's different from everybody, seems like.
Yeah. I want to say something.
if he's from the...
Oh, sorry.
I was just say real quick, what if he's from the same kingdom that Shanks said like he was from when the West Blue, which we probably know better now of Shanks's origins, you know, given everything we got from volume 4 billion. But like, remember he said this is a sake from like a town in the West Blue I grew up in. What if that, because Brooke is literally from the West Blue as well, what if he's from literally the place pink sake was made?
That can make sense.
Because he does know the song, you know. Yeah.
And for him, it was really prevalent. So it could be that his people were, singing all the time on his island. I could see that. I was just gonna say there was a very cute moment where everyone was given an option to go see the school, more of the school, and Chopper said, "Nah, those books are massive. I'm gonna follow Robin." And I found that very cute. His face.
Yeah, it's a great moment.
Yeah.
Just gonna call this out as well with Chopper following Robin. In that lineup, we saw in that chapter when they all reacted to the West End or the West Port or whatever, who was right next to Robin? Chopper.
Right.
I think I got a dub on that, guys. I'm not gonna call it yet because we still need more info, but I think I got a dub on that. That is the order of who's going to be doing things together and whatnot.
I'm just taken aback by this artwork because Oda's really smashing it recently.
Are you talking about the school?
Yeah, of course I am.
Yeah, it looks so good. I was gonna bring that up before I had to mute up.
It's absolutely incredible.
Look at this well-learned walrus right here with the little
sir.
like cap and
Same
tassel and whatnot. This is
And the graduation cap on his head.
Yes, exactly.
yeah, that's so cute.
One of the giant kids wearing a pre-time skip Chopper hat, also super cute. I know it's not the
Very
same
interesting.
hat.
But did you notice the horns on one of them? I was going to point this out. It's not on a helmet. One of the giants has horns in this image where they're playing in the water.
Well, it looks like they could be wearing goggles, so it might be a part of like the whatever headgear they've got on. But it does look like they've got something else on their dome up here.
On their dome, doesn't it?
Looks like gold.
Yeah. One of them has a sort of hat that can maybe look like a top hat, but doesn't look it's not sure with the angle.
Looks like Chopper's hat.
Like this, yeah, like Chopper's hat. One has like Sanji's way of hairstyle, hiding a part of his face, vivid smoke style, and then the horns.
No, if you look at that first panel where the kids are poking out from behind the tree, the top hat has horns on both sides like Chopper's as well.
That's cute.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm saying. Like it's straight up a pre-time skip Chopper hat. Like,
and the goggles could have the horns on it. Looking at that image, but it's still up in the air for me actually.
Yeah, but when they're playing in the water, it looks like they're coming out of the hair. So could be like ancient giants just evolved to look more like the modern giants as well. Like,
well, you
elbaf
remember the
is
numbers? Oh, actually, we can go down and see this even further. Not to jump ahead, we meet our lovely biology teacher Ripley. And in the next panel, though, to stay on topic, we see another kid with a mohawk and 2 horns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, true.
Man, Oda's cooking. Like,
He's sneaking stuff in there.
Yeah, some of these designs are just so fire. Like, I think Ripley is like one of the coolest looking. Like, I mean, you
said it.
Aside from like the hubba antics that like she's just really cool looking. You know
Got
what I mean?
That war paint. It's so badass.
Like a tattoo. Like I don't know. That's so sick.
Yeah. And she's chill.
But
she gives us the
I like
first
the hair
look
design
at
too, like with the braids.
Yes, absolutely. But
Her shirt and the outline of her horns, I think that's intentional.
I do as well. Can we talk about Zoro wanting to murder kids?
Wow, dude just said that. Crazy.
Yeah. So
He
this
straight
is
says, "Can I cut him down?" Like,
this is something that's slowly been happening, I think, since Wano. Since he had that brush with death, he's been showing this lack of empathy or emotion. We've seen him call his captain his hero. Some would even say his idol pathetic at one point. We've seen him totally disregard people's opinions on stuff. We had that weird look at the beginning of elbaf, and now he's talking about, kill it.
It's like before he was closer of the style of communication of Robin, analyzing and then making a comment when he gets closer to the person. But it's true ever since his brush with death in Wano, and whatever happened, whatever they learned during that 1 week in Wano with the Straw Hats, he's been more like openly vocal about certain stuff than before.
Yeah, I will say
it's indicative of Oda being such a big fan of Star Wars. He wanted to throw in a reference to Order 66.
But no, with the pathetic comment though, Knack, I think that was explained because in Japanese it came off less of him calling his captain pathetic and more of a like Bushido code kind of thing, like an honorable kind of thing. So I think that one was just a translation thing. I don't know if I take this seriously as him trying to murk the kids, or if it's just deadpan Zoro humor. You know what I mean?
It could.
Yeah, it's something that might not have translated well, and it could be like that, that deadpan like Zoro does, like, well, we could just kill, like, kind of thing.
Or it could be extremely dark.
As many jabs as I can take at Zoro's character post time skip, like, honestly, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt here, because he is led to believe up until this point that these kids are not only giants, they are warriors. Yes. And then they get corrected, like, no, these kids aren't warriors, like, and stuff like so. Like, I can understand a bit of the gag if it is humor, but if it's like actually just a knee-jerk response and he's just like some mindless, like, I hack and slash, like, no emotions, like, give me alcohol and give me a fight, like I don't think that's what it is, though. I think Oda's a little bit more clever than that, and it's just kind of like the recurring gag, like, nobody really gets on to Nami about getting like the berry symbols for her eyes whenever she sees treasure and stuff, because it's just a recurring gag,
That's fair. Yep.
They're supposed to be dangerous, yes, but I don't know if I think he was more. It's more of a gag, but it could be the other.
So then now, there's the other sec. Oh yeah, no wait. Before now, the inside of the library. I'm sorry, that was just amazing.
I do think that was amazing, but I think we should touch on how the Giants have shifted from a pillaging, warfaring society to trying to become more trade-oriented.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she says that she's a part of, like, Ripley specifically says that she's a part of the last, like, warrior giant generation, and now they are more along, like, scholarly giants, moving forward into the generations and stuff. So she's like probably cut from the same cloth as like Haryuden and Gerd and even like Loki, like, so within 60 to 80 years ago. But then you see some of these like littler, younger kids. These are like no longer warriors, is how I kind of interpreted that. And I think it's really,
the most recent generation or the first, like the last surviving one, or it's the most recent.
So many people in the community have been like anticipating like the moment where Luffy hears about Nika properly, and it's somebody that they worship, and like we are right on the cusp of that right here. This moment could happen literally next chapter.
Yeah.
Like because she literally mentions like, oh yeah, what happened? Why aren't you like in the form you are on your bounty poster? And like, that resembles like a warrior from our antiquity. And I'm just like, oh, is this going down right now? And we didn't get that from this chapter because we cut away to a bunch of things, a couple times, which I'm fine with. But we are literally like, I'm on the edge of my seat hoping that we get that literally next chapter.
Same. In my chapter reaction, I got so hyped when I saw that panel.
Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
It goes back to like all of us, every single member of the Eternal Dawn has cooked so many times that elbaf will be the chapter where we get Nika, where we'll get the Ancient Kingdom, and with not only Ripley doing this with Luffy, but then seeing Robin and Chopper going into the library where all of the books of Ohara have survived. Like Saul straight up said, not a single one. We made sure we didn't miss any of them. If you guys remember, I said this last chapter too, our last discussion as well, is Robin was told she wasn't allowed to read all those books because they had secrets of the ancient world in them.
Oh yeah.
She was allowed to do that research. She's an adult now. She doesn't have anyone to tell her no, and it's her goal to carry on that legacy. I'm telling you, I think Ancient Kingdom name reveal probably happening sooner than later.
Bingo piece. Yeah,
Bingo
I get you. And like also this giant like Wan Shi Tong like massive owl thing that's
Yeah, we
just
gotta talk about
chilling
this.
here, you know what I mean? Like
This could
Just before we get
potentially
to-
what is
a
this?
Just before we
a
get too
scene
much
is
into the
thrown
library,
out.
there
Okay.
was just something that caught my eye a bit with Ripley when we were talking. And the way she was portrayed in this chapter,
Two things.
yeah, she gave me vibes of Korea a bit. This
What?
abrasive person from an older generation that knows stuff, but also has instead adopted a more intellectual aspect to things.
I think
This is interesting.
yeah, I think some of her older generation warrior vibes are mixing in with the new teaching element. She's like,
My question is,
brats and bastards, but don't do what I say, or
Yeah,
don't do as I
exactly.
do as I say.
but did Saul have anything to do with King Harold's change of point of view for the whole country like this? Was it Saul's teachings?
That's
Trying
a
to get
good
them not
point
to be-
because it said that it was 20 years ago that King Harold had made the decision to like open the library, right?
Yep.
So it
And
could have been him.
22 years ago was the Ohara incident, and within that 2-year gap, Saul could have absolutely been brought here. We know there was 6 months in between them recovering the text, so like yeah, I would assume that like within that 1.5 year gap, I should say, post Ohara, and like so that makes perfect sense. I do think that Saul
That's how the change came about.
possibly initiated this because he did also outspokenly mention like I'm not like those warriors from Elbaf or whatever.
Then.
They're not
Exactly.
like us yet.
I would also say another possible candidate because they did have Viking
One
outfit.
second, because I had a point when you had said that she was abrasive and stuff. What I was going to say is that is interesting because I did not read her that way at all. So I love the different interpretations of characters like this because I read her as very maybe a little bit
Like-
stern, but very very kind. Like she's very excited to meet Luffy and his crew. Sorry, but go ahead, Q.
No worries. No. That's what I love about those sessions because point of views and how we read stuff is so interesting.
Yeah.
Dude, wait. Do I have a brain? No. Wait. What we were talking with this whole we're talking about Saul. It's 20 years.
Yes.
I'm just saying this. Saul could be part of it, but this could be the first because we've seen people having Viking outfit in that crew, also connection to the Roger Pirates. as
And
well,
with his
because
comment,
they discovered everything 25 years ago, and
When he
everything
was
seems to be. Yeah, sorry, Sridhar.
I was just saying when he was in O'Hara and he said that he wasn't like the Johnson Elbaf, that means that at that point in time they were still like that. So he,
Well,
when him,
what he
so
knew
that
of them,
means,
you know.
Yeah, what he knew of them. Yeah, true.
yeah.
So it could be a mix of both. The Roger Pirates impact with Saul as well. A mixture of both. But
Yeah,
I think they're two great candidates.
I think it could tie into what happened with Mother Caramel and Big Mom, if I'm honest. I think that could be an inciting incident to why King Harold would want to change things. And then
Yeah.
Saul exacerbated that with his presence. You know what I mean? Like King
Mhm.
Harold, it's like we need to be different. We've seen now the most brutal thing that anyone could see. A bunch of children got ate. Like, let's be real about that. That is a terrible tragedy, and they witnessed it firsthand, basically. So,
And they also had one of the leaders of the warriors toppled. Like they
Right.
literally lost. Like
By a tribe.
Fallbeard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I think that could be the inciting incident, and he may have worked towards it a little bit, but Saul was the complete like the fuel to the fire almost. Like there was a spark there because of that, and it was going into embers. And then when Saul got there and told him of Okara and told him of the knowledge and like everything, the compassion, that's what changed his point of view of it, and to the point where he would go like forward with his plans.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's one thing that, for everything they said about, 20 years ago, King Harold wanted to change. A lot of the stuff they're talking about King Harold, and it's again under the 20 years, in the last 20 years, it's giving me Otohime vibe of her trying to make changes, something happens to her. And so now I'm even really questioning, like, Loki might be involved in some shape or form, but what if there's another culprit within elbaf? Because it has all the different themes of what happened to Otohime. Someone who wanted to change the ways.
Yeah, I posed this question in the Discord actually yesterday after I read the chapter, because we all expect a civil war, but to cause a civil war there has to be a clash of ideals, and it seems King Harold was the one to try to change things.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it'll echo Fishman Island, where it's just a small outlier that doesn't like those ideals, like Hody Jones and the new Fishman Pirates, right? I've preached about how good
Rhodey Jones.
We've heard about the Greybeards and how they didn't accept the change.
God.
Rodo is literally somebody who doesn't agree. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry?
Nah.
No, you can cook, man. Oh, I was just saying, the Fishman Island parallels, like, we have the mention of the Greybeards, so, like, perhaps they're the people, the council that set up opposition to this new ideal.
Yeah. Well, Ja Rule and what was his brother's name? Jarl or something like that.
Yarul.
Yorul and Yarul.
Would those be considered the Greybeards?
And Jarul.
They're the two confidants almost of the royal family. They're the ones that give them advice, and they're royal advisors almost, right?
Yeah,
so,
warriors. So I mean, they were subservient to the kings. I don't know if they were advisors. It could be a whole nother faction. It could be the same. I just don't think so.
Yeah. That's just how I interpret it. Beautiful thing, like Kube said. The way that we interpret the story. But it seems to me that the parallels to Fishman Island are there. But when I said Hody Jones and you said Rhodey, and then I think of him calling Luffy, what was it?
Mm-hmm.
Rhodey or whatever.
Rhodey.
Yeah, Rhodey. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's Luffy that's gonna call it the split, maybe.
Probably.
But that's also the thing is like Luffy, Loki, and Road during that little introductory bit were all beings who have been referred to or referred to themselves even as, some rightfully and some wrongfully so, as the sun god. Rodo could literally be like somebody who splits off from not just Luffy's faction and like the main elbaf faction, but this is
he's the Vanderdecken of this earth.
He's the Van. That's fair comparison.
That's crazy. He did literally capture small well, here Shirahoshi's gigantic, but she's like a 12-year-old, so like small children comparatively.
For real.
Oh my goodness.
Let's get to
I gotta talk about the owl. Yes. Yeah. There's this chair next to the owl that is so disproportionate that it almost tells me that this is a devil fruit user that shifted to this owl form.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
The chair is not like human sized. That was my first thought. Like, oh, maybe there's just a human sized chair up there and the owl is just a giant owl. But if you look at these windows in the tree, they are smaller than the chair.
Yeah.
It's, I know proportions and stuff, scale and panel is hard to judge stuff off of, but that chair is intentionally drawn.
Pixel scaling?
What if that is a chair that Saul has placed for Robin to read?
I mean, it'd be a big chair. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think not only the owl, but the most interesting thing to me is the book growing gigantic. I don't know how we brushed past that a little bit, but that is insane. How does that work? Is it the Sunstone technology that we've been seeing, or like what is that?
Oh no, Let me cook. Let me cook. I mean, do you have anything you wanted to say first, Knack? I'm about to pop off.
No, let the chef cook, man.
Oh man. Okay, so to me, this screams like there's been a lot of like, ooh, oh, it's magic, you know, kind of vibes with like ever since like all the way back in Lil Garden, you know, when Oda confirmed that Miss Golden Week's powers are specifically not a devil fruit. But we're seeing now where some of that is implemented here, like with the painters, the Sunstone painters making the rainbows and stuff. So like Kube, major props to you for you know, calling that, I don't know, like 20 years in advance or something. But like I think this screams to me that if this isn't technology, it has to be a devil fruit, because I am a firm believer that like something that one of our most beloved and faithful community members, the Will of Dreams or the Will of Ohara or the Will of Fire, if that is your real name, you know, he said in a quote in one of our recent streams is, magic is just technology that like hasn't really been explained to you, you haven't figured out yet. And I don't think this is magic, but I think that's what Oda is wanting us to believe. And I actually don't think that this is technology either. This is most likely like lasting effects from an awakened user of whatever devil fruit has been passed down through generations. So King Harold is the one who wanted this library to start in the first place 20 years ago. I believe this is the workings of the very same devil fruit that Loki himself also has currently.
I like that.
Spicy.
That is very spicy. It'd be a paramecia then, because it's affected the environment, right?
Bingo peace. I'm sorry. yes.
Yeah, like, because what if that's why the giants exist? What if that's the devil fruit is what made it like that? Like, maybe it affected not only them in the moment, but their core DNA structure and permanently made giants.
And a lot of people were anticipating that Louis Arnaud's warning. Yeah, Louis Arnaud's warning in Bragman about staying too long on what if this ties to. I kind of wrote off the, oh, you're just gonna become a giant, and kind of put more of my eggs in the time dilation basket, but I wasn't really set on either of those two theories. But this is giving a little bit more credence to the gigantification aspect of that warning.
I said that well with my initial reaction to that. Not only that, oh my goodness, I just had something spicy, and
as you try to get that, like, this would also explain why the world government is so obsessed with trying to find a way to do this, because they possibly know
that's what I was gonna say.
It's happening artificially.
Yeah, because that's what their main goal was. That was the whole point of Punk Hazard, right? Well, at least Caesar, while he was on Punk Hazard, that gigantification, and it would make sense that they wouldn't be able to do it
also
if
seen
the giants were passing down a gigantification for centuries.
Yeah, but we've seen Vegapunk replicate the effects of devil fruit through technology in the Pika Pika lasers from Kizaru's fruit getting put into the pacifistas. So is that something that they're trying to accomplish again, like bottle more of that lightning in replicating this devil fruit effect? I'm really thinking this is a devil fruit effect. I'm sorry, Cube, were you about to spit on something?
So I have actually something. So I'll go more further on it, but there is in this chapter some One Piece film Z inspiration. And what quite interesting is there was also a TV special with a couple episodes to lead to film Z, and there was a woman called Lily who was a giant who actually had the opposite devil fruit, the mini no Mi. So I do feel like there could be some
crazy.
Yeah. And then when we're gonna get to the undead realm, then there's more spice about film Z. But yeah, and her name was Lily.
I was gonna type this in chat, but I because I thought you were gonna cook for a little bit longer. But I can actually say it makes sense too that Vegapunk couldn't have replicated this devil fruit because he didn't have access to it or the DNA of the user, right? Because every person's devil fruit that he's replicated has either been someone in the Marines that he's gotten it from, like Kizaru, or someone who's been impelled down, or a warlord. So affiliates of the government or prisoners of the government. And that could be why Loki has a special bounty, because they know now that he has this fruit.
I actually like that line of
Yeah.
thinking a lot.
Yeah, we just
I'm fully on board with this.
yeah.
And like, could we also just talk about, before we get to the underworld stuff that Cube was just talking about, can we just talk about Robin's reaction to hearing that he, like Saul said, I never thought I'd be like have the privilege of sharing this with you, and like we see just like this is so this is so peak. Like I love it. I love it, dude.
Chapter reaction. You guys know I love Robin so much, and all of this was just like I've seen some people complaining that it was a mid chapter after last chapter. No, it wasn't. It was perfect. It was exactly what we needed after last chapter, and I love that about it. It might not have been the spiciest. Yeah, it might not have been the spiciest, but like obviously there was some spice to it because we've been cooking already for almost an hour. But like it hit still, and I think it was a very nice, like, soft chapter to end the year with. What were you saying, 3 Days? Sorry.
I was just saying that panel with the tears in her eyes and her looking up like that, it felt like all the past 22 years or however long it was just melted away.
Yeah.
All the pain that she had went through, and
Yeah.
it seemed like she was had some sort of relief in her eyes. And
This is relief. This is vindication. This is fulfillment. This is purpose.
She
Like
thought
being recognized and rewarded.
yeah, it's like all the pain melted away.
Yeah, she thought she was the only one carrying the will of O'Hara, and to see that Saul not only survived, but he preserved almost the entirety of the library of O'Hara. Like that's
it is
such
huge.
a beautiful moment. I think once this specifically gets animated, people will see the merit in this moment more so than what they did in this chapter. Like reading the chapter.
I also just love Bonnie just absolutely vibing right here next to Robin in this big old spread, you know, like it's so adorable.
It is. I'm loving the dynamic between those two, and I said that last time as well. So that brings us to the realm of the dead.
Yeah.
This was insanity, guys. This was insanity.
Vex, I know you loved it as well. New Din covered in fur. Yes, please. Love it. Love it so much.
Well, they explained in Impel Down that like there's no communications down on that layer, the fifth layer or whatever, because specifically snails can't stand that cold. And then we get specifically I was talking with a friend of the channel, SSJ Cody, major shout out, but he was like, well, we've seen cold environments before where they had dens and stuff like that, but elbaf is like isolated, so it would make sense that this is something that isn't shared with the rest of the world, but it explains how this, like, I love this. I'm give me like 50 more Den Mushi models. I'm a huge fan of this. I love it, and it answers some questions that were like, or like it crosses some boundaries that Oda put down before, so that more is possible again. And I love that every time we see it.
It's voice recognition only, that he pointed that out, says to me that it's not mimicking the appearance of whoever Loki is talking.
Yeah.
First said, "Hey Siri," you know.
And the other thing is from Film Z, one of Zephyr, and it's I told Lucas before. If you actually look at how the face design he made for Loki, you could see some similarities with Zephyr from the Film Z, loosely. But what's interesting is he had someone in his crew who had the power to grow things, specifically plants, and it was called the Mosa Mosa no Mi, written as the same way as he's talking to that person, that name he gave him, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
This whole conversation was a little bit, there's a little bit of insight we can glean from it, but we're supposed to feel like we're left in the dark, like we're missing pieces to this puzzle right now. And so clinging on to the little bit that we can to try to theory craft, that's what we do. We're One Piece fans. We're tinfoil straw hat wearers for sure, but I can't wait to figure out what all of this really means, because right now we can just heavily speculate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I spent like an
conversation is
hour last
spicy.
night just speculating on what event they could be referring to. You know what I
I
mean?
think the most
Oda
important
knows what he's
part
doing.
is that this person, Mosa, is highly motivated through fear, true fear.
Yeah, for whatever reason or another, and I can't wait. Like, I feel like because especially with what we got from like the Kuma flashback, and we figured out a good bit about even Saturn before his untimely pass. No, I'm kidding. Before he kicked
His
it.
timely demise.
we-
His timely demise.
Yeah, I think that it's really interesting because whether this person is in fact an antagonist or even like a protagonist, and if there's something that's being spun here by Oda and he's playing tricks on us like, you know, he loves to do. Oda's a troll and we love him for it. But regardless of whatever role this character is supposed to fill, I feel like we are going to get like a really cool backstory from this person. I really hope that we get like something on like either Saturn or Kuma level, you know, but definitely not Kaido level. I'm like, we gotta keep the quality flashbacks, you know, hopefully.
I agree with that.
Scared to take action against their own enemies, and if they did, they believe it'd probably be a bloodbath. If they did, they want to take action, but they're scared to.
Well,
There's also-
let me ask you this: who are we thinking Mosa is? Completely new character?
Yeah.
New
But I think it's going
character,
to
yeah.
I think it's going
Like-
to be someone that connects to elbaf, like someone who didn't want the changes, you know, a bit like in the whole Hody Jones stuff we were talking before. So maybe not as obvious as Hody Jones for us, but someone who really doesn't want to open up to the rest of the world.
Listen, when we were talking in VC before this, and this is going to tie directly into the spiciest bit of the chapter that's, you know, kicking up the community is, and even the more I'm looking at it now, I really think that the woman who arrived with Banks is Mosa. Because it sounds like they're talking
For
about...
sure. That's the
making it-
most obvious, like,
Okay,
for
I
sure.
was
I think a lot of people are thinking that.
Awesome. Yeah, because the Japanese text, like Knack had been saying earlier, shout out Knack, I don't know where he's at. No.
Wow.
I don't know where he's Knack. But the conversation that Loki, like I was just rereading it while we were sitting here spinning, and the conversation that Loki is having with this Mosa person, with the fact that the Japanese is a feminine text when they're talking, it sounds like they're about to make their move now, and then the next panel is Shiv, Banks, whatever you want to call him, showing up with this female, and the female is given that last, you know, panel, and it specifically calls them, we'll have to see if in the official, but it specifically calls them interlopers, right?
Yeah. That's an editor's note, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's... Yeah.
It gives me vibe of Egghead, Vegapunk talking to someone. Next chapter, we get the reveal who was that person, and that person was right there, a female Stussy.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not gonna lie, them showing up in a summoning circle, very, very spicy to me, because of how I believe Emu's powers work and stuff. Does this mean that if these are God Knights, which is the most prevalent understanding of the chapter so far, I wait for a hard confirmation, just like I know a lot of you guys do as well. But does this mean that there's a potential that Emu is granting their powers to the God Knights as well?
Yeah, like with not just the summoning circle, but also just this crazy like hockey black lightning like strike down. This is exactly how things went down right after Saturn was pulling up with Kizaru eating the bowl of ramen, and he said, it's been a while since I've been on the surface, and then boom, lightning struck Egghead and we see the summoning circle form.
Yes, sir.
So I firmly believe that this is, I don't know, firmly is such a strange term because Oda can literally do whatever he wants right here, but if this is in fact some doppelshanks, I believe that whoever this is and whoever Mosa is as well, they have their own transformations and their own regenerative capabilities, just like Saturn and the rest of the Gorosei we saw.
Yeah. It can also be like the difference between the God's Knight who are gifted those abilities and the Gorosei could also be about a proportion, you know what I mean? Like maybe the God's Knight are more like that comment of Zoro about S-Hog, more human than the other ones, you know? Like, you know, there must be some sort of consequences, you know? Make you more like, you know, demon-like for maybe the Gorosei, and maybe the God's Knight, they don't get the same proportion. There's gonna have to be a balance somewhere. There's gonna have to be a balance somewhere.
I think
Not
it's so
their two
interesting.
faces,
They
but-
come through bowing down too. They're like knelt down
Yeah,
and
that
bowing.
is the sickest panel. That is such a cool freaking panel with the like them kneeling and the cloaks like shown, and there's just like the flames
So
kind of
badass.
like
Right.
Like they were
burning
asking
around them. Like
to send him to elbaf. And
it
bowing
is. Yeah, it is crazy. Like how. And like with their face covered in this first panel, and then like even like with the bandages covering them as well, and like you said with the voice activated Denden Mushi not adopting the face of whoever's talking, like this is like this is like the hugest. Like Oda's covering something up. Like this is pretty spicy. I don't think that it's an existing character, but I'm not
either.
opposed. I'm straight up not opposed to that.
It's
But I think
existing,
this
but
person.
They look
Well, I
like
think Mosa, like
assassins.
I've seen a lot of people talking about Mosa could be a clone of this person, just because if we have one potential clone in play, why wouldn't we potentially have another? You know?
Yeah.
So mine is quite brief because I know Srida is going to spit after me and she has a very interesting take. But I've said that the vibe I got from her on how she's designed gives me the vibe that we got with Sora and the Vinsmoke sibling to Sanji.
Yeah, I said that in my
I
chapter
think-
reaction as well.
The raid suit covering their mouth, seeing one eye. There is something over the eyebrow, similar to how the Vinsmoke have it as well, and Sora had just one line. So it kind of, I'm not saying now clone of them or not, but I'm just saying that it feels like we might find out maybe White Judge based on Sora, everything, you know? Like if she's maybe real from a certain royal family. So that's what I got the vibe of with that lady.
Yeah.
Just that her coming through with Shanks, I swear it makes me think it's Uta. If it's actually Shanks, it could possibly be Uta. And her mouth covered like that with a bandage, it makes sense if she's there to. They keep her from singing until then she's sealed or something. If that the bandages part, is there some kind of seal going on? Like they have bandages over Loki's eyes. I'm just wondering if there's some kind of seal
yeah.
stuff going
That is
on.
kinda
Magic bandages, whatever you want to call them.
How do you think the community would react? I have to ask. I know we're cooking on possible Moto right now, but how do you think the community would react if that isn't Shanks' brother, but is Shanks?
Hmm.
I don't even want to
Everybody's
think
being
about
just
it.
confused.
I don't even want to think about it. It's like so many. There's a very vocal minority that likes to slander, certain enigmatic figures. Any chance they get the tiniest little foothold, and they want to insert the largest freaking agenda into it.
Right.
And I'm not a big fan of people who want to do that because like Oda leaves these figures enigmatic for a reason. Like you can't act like you know everything just based off of the tiny amounts of information we're given off of these certain characters, like Shanks specifically. Yes, they are prolific across the world for those who live in that world, but us as an audience, we have gotten so little tangible things to go off of. So I don't know, but the evil Shanks agenda and the rat Shanks agenda and stuff like that, that's been going strong for years, like since pre-Wano, and I think it'll only be stronger than ever if that is actually confirmed. And people are really, really chomping at the bit right now to either topple or support that agenda because of this one little panel.
Well, I love
and so I don't even want to think about it.
Go ahead, 3D.
People takes away from the impact of when we first saw the hooded Shanks at Marijois. How awesome that was, and he was there to talk about a certain pirate. If it's not Shanks, then we was thinking. I mean, most of us were thinking we're all wrong. Then I don't know.
I like the idea, though. If I'm being honest, I've always loved to toy with the idea that Shanks is the final villain. Like he's actually, he'd definitely be up to do all this and stuff. So if this is Shanks, that would just cement that, and I'd be happy. I'd be very, very happy. More so than if it's his brother or something like that. Which like I said, that's what I said earlier. There was something in the chapter that bothered me, and this was it. because I don't like the whole evil twin trope. I think it's just a dumb trope in any form of media.
Clone peas.
Yeah, I don't think it's a clone either, though. I don't know why, but
I think Oda wants us to deliberate. Oda wants to stir up the pot. He knows that the community tinfoil like straw hat wearers are gonna go ballistic right now. That's why he showed us this eyeball and not the other eyeball.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't show us his arm. Like Oda knows exactly what he's doing, and I'm here for it. But
And I
like,
kinda
the
felt
thing
the
is
same way
it's
about
left
the girl.
it's left ambiguous on purpose. We are not supposed to know. We are supposed to guess. So anybody who is claiming that they know, I'm just like, all right, calm down. We got some, this is not a confirmation of anything, you know?
And I would also say 2 points before, because I think that you guys said that if it's Shanks or not who wants to do Gorosei, regardless, I've always felt that because of what they said to that person, it would be very interesting. Because if it's Shanks, they said, you're not welcome in this part, which that makes sense. But if it's like the brother, which I don't like the twin, I prefer the whole like the Don Quixote or the impure royal celestial family that we meet, or the pure one, and the Figureland are the impure. Doflamingo was the black sheep, the one that had an impure heart, while the one had a pure heart. It would make sense that Shanks, who has, let's say, depending on what happens in the story, compared to the rest, he has a more pure heart and then impure heart. I like that trope, like a younger, older sibling who became the heir, similar to But if it is indeed that brother, Gorosei telling that person, you're not welcome in these parts, makes it even more spicier.
yeah, I will say that
this inner conflict inside it as well. Like there's an inner conflict among the celestial dragons that we don't know about.
Yeah.
I find it very odd too. We get the order of paneling here. We see them feasting. There's a comment about them having too much. I'm assuming that's too much mead, too much brew. And then the lightning, and then we see nobody notices. They're still just partying. So I'm wondering now if like nobody even noticed that happening. Well, not nobody, but like the main party crew. And there's gonna be surprise next chapter.
I ain't gonna lie, that giant next to Brokey, I thought that was Usopp for a second.
Oh yeah.
It does look. To answer to that, Nick, it could be also what Oda said at the beginning of post time skip, where he said that not everyone sees the hockey color, the black hockey. It's also a lot of the time is for our benefit to see the difference. So it could be that. Yeah, I'm just saying that it could be like for abilities like that, Oda, it's maybe more discreet in real time, but we're seeing it more obscure, so we can see them. We can recognize it at the beginning.
The giant captains are definitely hockey users, so they would sense it. I think. The fact they didn't sense it is very telling. But guys, I'm not gonna lie, I have to jump off here. I have to get ready for work. You guys keep cooking, and I will see you all later. Thank you again for the audience for being here. Shout out Kazuki Yao Sensei. We love you, bro. Bye.
Bye. So I actually had another point. You see one of the last panels when they arrive, where there's the end on it. Like, the fire, they're both cloaked. Since Vex is here, I have to give props. This gave me a vibe of post Ennis Lobby arc.
Post Ennis Lobby?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Thriller bark is what he's trying to
I know.
Yeah. It did give me the vibe that this could have been
Insanity.
taken. Like, obviously, it's not in Thriller bark, but this gave me the vibe of Thriller bark. The destruction behind it. Like it's so old. We got all those, hellfire themes in it. The fire behind them. It just made me think of that when I first saw the panel.
I'm saying everything ties back to Thriller bark, and I think this might in more ways than we're all thinking as well. But I can't say too much on that. It's like I don't want to like let all the cats out of the bag right now. I'm gonna wait until we get more information. But yeah, I think this is gonna tie a lot more, and it's like Daxake just put it in one of his videos not too long ago, talking about Loki and NL parallels, but like the similarities between potentially what we can assume is Imu's powers in and what we saw from Moria with the Kage no Mi and the Shadow Soldiers, like all the zombies and whatnot. This is pretty crazy. I'm Not gonna spit too much about it because y'all know me, I can go ad nauseum about Thriller Bark parallels, but they're definitely here, absolutely. And like this is one of my favorite panels, just them kneeling down with the flames behind them and their cloaks over their head. This is sick. This is so cool.
Well, them kneeling down, does it make you think that Emu personally sent them, or if it's the God Knight ever who the
Yes.
leader is? I mean, they were kneeling down like that with their head bowed. They're obviously showing respect to somebody.
I do think it's Emu personally. I think that they were given an order and they bowed and were transported. Like that seems like the most likely to me. What doesn't make sense to me though is that we had to have, for some reason or another, Saturn's actual form was present on the shores of Egghead before his yokai form or whatever got summoned. So this is something slightly different from what we saw at the beginning of Egghead, right? Or like at the climax point of Egghead, because Saturn was actually on the surface. He was there on that boat. And then the summoning circle summoned a different version of him. So maybe if this is Shanks, maybe it's because actual Shanks is near the border of elbaf still.
We were talking about this
maybe that
this
is
morning, actually.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, just what you were saying. We were talking about it this morning in the same sense that like Saturn actually physically went there before he could use a summoning circle, and then the summoning circle brought more people when he was there. So it's like whoever this is has to be either close by or someone in elbaf is doing this, bringing them here.
Or the teleportation
and if it isn't Shanks,
in there for a while. Somebody in elbaf.
Yeah, I think if it isn't Shanks though, it could easily be this Mosa person.
For real.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's where they're trying to send
Odo's
our head to.
strategically leaving it up in the air, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I also find that the timing is quite interesting when we recently had a new Gorosei who's, if that's indeed a Figureland, or among the two is a Figureland, which seems to be the case, it could be that, new Gorosei, maybe, there's, a new plan as well, since Saturn is gone. We still don't know how it's working with the Gorosei. Like, do they each get like a first mission when they start with Emu, maybe? And that's like Garling and Emu preparing something.
Well, we don't have enough info on God's
the...
Knights to say for sure, but my head is going straight to God's Knight right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
Talking about the summoning circles though, and like how this power works, and Garling specifically, we saw that Saturn's summoning circle had the number 5.
Right.
So we can assume that Garling, now that he has taken that position, Garling is now that number 5. There's no numbers on this summoning circle that we see.
Much more like
other than that, it seems identical.
Yeah. It looks more like
exactly.
Yeah.
Another tie-in to Brook adjacent things, and like another Thriller Bark reference, which I'll keep it brief, is that what we saw from Perona's fruit, the hollow, the horo, is that she could astral project her form like an intangible form outside of her actual body, and that reminds me exactly of what Saturn did.
Yeah,
Saturn's actual body was there on the shores of Egghead, but his soul, or some other aspect of him, projected outside of it, and so that might be the key to how this all works, is that the parallel there with the Horo no Mi. So I feel like the Horo no Mi, as well as the Kage no Mi, 2 Thriller Bark specific devil fruits, really do come into play when it comes to Emu's full power set. I'm fully on board with that.
Yeah, that's great too, because we also talked a lot in Egghead about why they could be regenerating this power. And if it's exactly as you're saying right now, if it's projection of their soul energy or their spirit energy, whatever is happening, then of course physical damage is not going to take them out. The only thing that took them out was Emu, and Emu basically cut the line.
Yeah, I think it's not their soul per se, but it's their shadows.
Yeah.
Because like a shadow was told to us back in Thriller Bark. A shadow is your second soul, and we've seen physical light through Egghead's technology, and here with like the Sun Painter stones on Elbaf. But what if we see physical darkness, and that's what this is?
Think about this. I just went to reread the appearance of the Gorosei, and we're getting an inversion of what we just got now. We saw them inside appearing while we in the Gorosei. We can see it, and from the inside now we know there's fire, but from the outside it looks like black smoke that engulfs where the top summoning circles. We can't even tell if they were bowing or not. I wanted to check if they had the same pose as the Gorosei or not, if there was some difference. So I think you guys are spot on.
I don't think that the God Knights. Yeah, I don't think that the God's Knights would need to, would get the privilege of, I feel like it's safe to assume they are lesser than the Gorosei in the ranking, right?
Yeah.
So, the Gorosei would be able to, stand up and, they still show reverence to Emu, but they wouldn't need to directly kneel in their presence upon receiving an order, whereas the God's Knights, I feel like, would.
I can see that.
Playing off what you were saying earlier, Prince, I think it was last night, said if they were the God Knights, he was like, they're moving in two-man cells like the Akatsuki, which then made me think back to when they were trying to take that from Gara, and they had sent a portion of their power over to do that. They themselves did not show up to do that. It goes into what you're kind of saying. Maybe that's just 20% of Shanks there, or something.
Yeah, I think that it's also really interesting because we were talking about physical shadow. Just really quick, one thing. We were talking about physical shadow or physical darkness as an antithesis to physical light, which is something we've seen Vegapunk actually be able to harness through technology. And what is the one Logia that we see is in fact tangible in its truer form, the Pika Pika no Mi, it's you can't touch it because it's light, but the Yami, the darkness, you can still touch it. It still takes and it's also potentially not just a parallel but an inversion in that devil fruit, the Yami Yami no Mi, is supposedly what takes devil fruit powers from others, and this is potentially an inversion that because Emu is bestowing this power onto others. Maybe I'm cooking. Maybe
you're always cooking.
I was gonna say.
Call him chef for a reason.
Yeah. I dropped one of the earlier sketch of Oda when he was working on some stuff before he started One Piece. I do feel like, the storyline that Shanks that he did not go with could be for that person that looks like Shanks, who was labeled.
Yeah,
Shanks
I've seen this floating around a few times. Yeah, so it's an image of Shanks, Knight Leader Shanks, 3 years after the war.
Yeah. Basically, it's the Shanks without a scar, which is interesting. Right. But with everything we've been talking about, it really gives me the vibe that how other than the rope that affected the Gorosei, the only other person that actually physically affected the Gorosei was Luffy. And then it kind of makes me think of this: what are the true limits of Emu and Luffy's abilities? Because they're two people who Sabo's fire was literally made useless against Emu. You know what I mean? It didn't affect Emu. It evaporated, no effect whatsoever. Then you have some similarities. So I'm wondering, what is the fine line and what is the true limit of both the Nikko fruit and Emu's abilities?
All to find out soon. Yeah, Vex, I really liked what you were cooking in the Discord yesterday about the potential of this being a battleground for the final war on Elbaf. I think that's a cool idea.
If some iteration of Shanks is here, and we know that Blackbeard has stake in powerful devil fruit acquisition, we know that Cross Guild has been absent from the story for a while. Luffy's literally right here, right now. I could see all 4 Yonko parties coming into play this arc, depending on how events start to unfold, and I could see it happening way sooner rather than later. And like just to reiterate what I had already said in the Discord, join the Eternal Dawn Discord if you haven't already, link in the description. But we're cooking in there all the time. But I had said something along the lines of, most people believe that the final war will be something that's post elbaf. I'm thinking with what we're getting right now, this could be it. It could happen right here. And that goes in with a lot of the Ragnarok themes and the Norse like mythology motif and stuff like that. Like this could be the full battleground for the actual final war. I could literally see it happening any chapter now. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like a full powder keg. And I feel like Oda just lit the fuse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about, I do agree on the whole battleground stuff, because you guys were to make a analogy to the Borg or to a Katsuki with the two team. Borg works the same thing, and you know everything on Planetopia. So you know we could be like not actually getting a lore dump of that like in Alabasta, but living an actual plan because Crocodile failed. We can see like, you know, what happens when all the setups are already done, and maybe, you know, they will do it just instantly. Well, you know, Crocodile had to build up everything.
Yeah, I like the callback to Baroque Works too, and the connection. You've brought it up a nice few times now, Kube, but it's really smart, and how the Gods Knights could be a reflection of the same organization.
I mean, if you think about it, there are 14 high members of Baroque Works with Crocodile in it. There are 5 Gorosei, 9 Holy Knights, 14.
Mm-hmm.
The exact same number.
Yeah, no, this was a fantastic chapter and gave us so many ingredients to play with for theory crafting. I know the community's been popping off with all sorts of ideas, and we've had our own for sure. But I'd love to hear some more takes from people throughout the week in the Discord. So I can't stress it enough. Drop in, for sure. Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally feel like we could cook on this for like another 2 hours, but like we're always happy to keep, you know, cooking in the Discord like Nak just said. So make sure you guys join if you enjoyed some of the discussion here and you had anything that you wanted to add, leave it in the comment section as well. That's much appreciated. Make sure you like the video.
It doesn't roll to say it, does it?
I'm so used to saying like the stream.
I know.
But
we appreciate you guys for tuning in again.
On the chapter, what do you guys want to rate it out of 10 real quick, and then we can go to outros?
Right from the top, what do you got, 3-Day?
I was thinking like 8.5, but after this discussion, I'm thinking more of a 9.5. I missed a lot of things, and hearing y'all talk, I'm enlightened.
Respectable. Yeah, this is why we do it, you know?
Yeah.
We can share these crazy ideas and observations of Oda's just absolutely absurd story.
Amazing.
Who we got next?
We got Kube next, going around the block.
I think I'm gonna put the same ranking as the Saul chapter, because we still got a continuation of this and some more lore dump. And well, I mean the Loki stuff is still very obscure, but those summoning circles plus that's like, if this is truly the last chapter,
big brain stuff.
It's really good, you know. And then the school thing, seeing the library, the exchanges, Ripley for more than 2 reasons, Vex, but definitely Ripley as well. For me, you know what? I would like the Saul one. It's a 9, like the last chapter.
Fantastic. For me personally, I thought it was a fantastic chapter, but there was a couple things I would have liked to see. It was a great chapter for theories. We got a bit more continuation with the Robin stuff, but we didn't get much more into what's going to happen on elbaf until the very end, because that blew the doors open for me on what potential we have here. So I would give the chapter an 8 out of 10, and I don't think that's too low of a ranking, but
no,
certainly not last chapter. What I felt last chapter, like I said last week, it was a 10 out of 10 for me. So Vex, you're up.
Yeah, I real quick, I'll just go ahead and say what I know our captain was gonna say. If we asked him to rate it out of 10, he's gonna say like 1,000 out of 10, because he constantly does that. But check out his chapter reaction, which should be dropping the same day that the officials drop. on the Straw Hat Lucas channel, link in the description, so you can see what he rates it, because I'm sure he's going to rate it very highly. I myself see this as a setup chapter. We got a continuation of something that I really did think was a 10 out of 10, which was the Saul Robin reunion, and I love that. Then we cut away and got some info and some more setup, and then we cut away and we got some more info and some more setup, and then we cut away. And so it's just like, to me, it seemed a lot of all over the place and a lot of setup, and we got some payoff, but to me, I can really only rate setup chapters as high as like an 8 personally. And I think this was one of the better ones we've ever gotten. As it stands right now, this is a solid 7.5, but I think in time, and maybe once I get to see the officials, I could probably bump it up to an 8 and match you, Knack. But right now, I'm gonna go ahead and say solid 7.5.
Respectable. I understand. Fantastic chapter though, all the same. Like 7.5 and 8, like the two lowest ratings are not bad ratings. Don't hate us in the comments.
They're really good. Yeah. I just think it's something to say that like Oda really reinvented what a 10 is. And so a 7.5 is extremely respectable. Yeah.
I also wanted to add one more thing. I think next chapter we may find out that it's really going against their nature to act the way they've been acting. Like they're so peaceful. I think it's going to come up.
Ooh, spicy. But yeah, anybody got anything they want to go ahead and plug real quick before we do this sign off?
We got all kinds of links in the description if you want to check out any of the crew members' other content. The Discord link is there, and like I said, we have been cooking a lot recently. We're planning on doing some watch parties and some games on the server, so if you're interested in that stuff, drop on by. But aside from that, I had a great time talking this chapter again with you all, and can't wait to do it again.
And also follow Nax Reacts if you're fond of animes like Frieren. That is still a goated
I appreciate it.
You know.
And Vexus for the D&D.
Absolutely.
Well, there you go.
And Straw Hat Lucas for all of his thoughts. I know he's got a rambling addiction coming out about Usopp, where he cooked with the historian here, Kube himself, as well as a lot of other good stuff planned. It's lots of great conversations being had. We had a great stream last week about bingo. We're doing a stream. It's by the time this drops, I think it'll already be out about the One Piece openings and whatnot. So yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed, hit the notification bell, and leave us a comment. Tell us how you liked it. With all that being said, Cube, you want to sign us off?
Yeah, and we'll see you all at the next sunrise.